For exclusive podcasts and more, sign up at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
This week's Law & Order Marathon winner is Destiny Neville of Commerce, Texas. Destiny will get a marathon decal showing she watched 26.2 hours of her favorite crime show. To be next week's winner, sign up at lawandorderpodcast.com.
I'm Kevin Flynn with Rebecca Lavoie and Lauren Milberger, and these are their stories.
You think you know who did it, but you don't know who did it. Law and order, law and order, law and order. It's no ordinary police procedural, baby. It's the FNOG of police procedurals, baby. Law and order, law and order, law and order, law and order. These are their stories, these are their stories.
Welcome to These Are Their Stories, the podcast about network TV's most enduring crime franchise and the real-life cases that inspire their shows. I'm Kevin Flynn. Each podcast will break down an episode from either Criminal Intent SVU or Original Recipe. And today we're looking at the Mothership Law & Order Season 15, Episode 3, The Brotherhood.
Are you threatening me, Mr. Marsden?
Why would I want to threaten you, Judge?
You wouldn't if you know what's good for you.
Joining me to do just that is true crime author and the host of Crime Writers On and Netflix's You Can Make This Up podcasts, Rebecca Lavoie. Hello, Rebecca.
Thanks for having me back, Kevin.
Rounding out our panel is our special guest from the Murphy Brown podcast. It's Lauren Milberger. Hi, Lauren.
Hello. So happy to be here.
I get the connection now. I get it.
You get it now?
Yeah. Gee, I wonder why I'm here. Boggles the mind.
Figured it out.
Lauren, you've got a new podcast project. It involves George Burns and Gracie Allen. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I have written a play on George Burns and Gracie Allen, and I've turned scenes from the play into a little mini podcast. And then the lovely actor Stephen Tobolowsky does little intros to sort of keep you up to speed, on what's going on in the play. And it's all original. It's not, just them doing the act. I've spent about almost over a decade, on and off, researching them. I've written a lot of essays on Gracie Allen. And it's a story I just think doesn't get told, unfortunately overshadowed by Lucy, who's very big right now and who's amazing. But there wouldn't be a Lucille Ball without a Gracie Allen.
Right. So is it actually a myth that their most famous one-liner never happened? The one where George will say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
And she says, goodnight, Gracie, that never happened.
No, it's what you might refer to now as the Mandela effect. So, and listen, there might be one out there where she does it. I kind of doubt it. I've seen so many episodes of their television series, of their radio show, and their famous saying was he would tell her to say goodnight, and she would just say, goodnight. And that was it. And somehow it got... the Mandela effect. But I think it really has to do with the fact that it does sort of fit into her character, because her character was someone who was like a Phoebe Buffay or a Rose Nyland on Golden Girls, really sort of had her own sense of the world and maybe would be considered sort of quote unquote stupid, but she wasn't.
So Burns and Allen and Murphy Brown, you are always on the cutting edge of pop culture.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so in the know with the young people and what's in the vernacular and stan culture. Oh, that's me.
So, Lauren, of all the franchises, and please tell us in a Gracie Allen voice, who's your favorite Law & Order detective team?
Favorite Law and Order detective team.
Well, it's very hard because I really like everybody. But I would really have to say that my favorite are the Original Recipe team, because it's just the original, and you got to look over a dead body and make a witty quip. You can't have Law and Order without that.
Very good.
Excellent.
All right, now let's take a look at the first half of this episode, Law & Order Season 15, Episode 3, The Brotherhood. I'm just trying to get my pregnant girlfriend to the hospital, and then I stumble across a dead body. Fuck my life.
Single gunshot to the back of the head, close range. No exit wound.
Check out the gang tats on his arms.
Yeah, those are standard issued prison shoes.
He's built pretty solid, too.
A lot of recreation time upstate.
The victim is fresh out of Sing Sing, Billy Trammell, a member of the Brotherhood, the white power prison gang. He's got a bullet in his head, pizza in his stomach, and a recent skull fracture. Fontana and Green tracked down Trammell's robbery partner. Is he the killer? He said Trammell had been complaining about his girlfriend. Is she the killer? She says that her current boyfriend went to tell Trammell to back off. Is he the killer? He says Trammell had pushed the girl to smuggle heroin into the prison. So the detectives visit Sing Sing to talk to the head of the Latin Kings. Is he the killer? Remember, they're the Brotherhood's rival for the prison drug trade. He says that Trammell got the skull fracture from a corrections officer.
What?
Who got a swing in while breaking up a fight. To confirm the story, they play Ask an Aryan with Kyle Marsden, head of the Brotherhood. Is he the killer? He confirms the story, though, about the guard. The superintendent, is he the killer? No. He says that John Worley is one of their best guards. Worley tells Fontana and Green that he had a beer with his partner the night that Trammell was murdered. The partner says there was bad blood between Worley and Trammell. He's sure the drugs found on his straight-laced son's car were planted by the Brotherhood, and the soon-to-be-released gang member was threatening the guard. The cops recover the murder weapon, a missing prison-issued handgun with Worley's fingerprints. His Easy Pass shows him coming and going from the city that night, and the evidence is thin, but the motive is excellent, so Van Buren tells them to make an arrest.
All right. Do you care that you mispronounced Tremmel the whole time?
What is it, Trammell?
It's Tremmel.
Tremmel, what did I say?
Trammell. I mean, you can always read that later if you care.
You know what? I don't care. We're moving on.
Okay, just asking.
It's Fontana themed though, right?
It's fine.
Oh, no,
totally fine.
Yeah.
It's completely fine.
So Green is only 3 episodes in with his new partner, Fontana, or as Fontana likes to say, finally got a partner with some smooth.
Oh.
Wasn't problematic then. He calls the shooting a public service homicide. And when he learns that there was pizza in the victim's stomach, he says,
Well, there's 2 things every con wants the minute they get out. Second one is a pizza.
This is why we hate cops, right?
Yeah. But then Rogers yells back,
Really? What's the first?
as if we didn't get the joke.
Yes. It's always fun when you have to explain a joke. It always makes it funnier.
Yeah. What? I don't know. What comes first before pizza? A Pepsi? What do you
Oh,
think?
yes. I'm sure that's exactly what you are dreaming of in prison. Pizza and a Pepsi.
Garlic knots. Everyone knows it's garlic knots.
Of course it is. Oh, what am I thinking? Of course.
Speaking of getting sexually harassed, Rogers is like, no, what is that first thing? Tell me. Please, new guy, say something inappropriate. Come back. Don't walk away.
That seemed like for the children who were watching.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is. I am so confused. NBC.
Can we just talk about the fact that Sid and Nancy finally had a baby and they were about to go to the hospital?
Sid and Nancy.
What the hell's the call? I called like 20 minutes ago.
Will you please relax? The contractions are just starting. You're making me nervous.
We'll hail a cab on the corner.
There was a theme to this whole episode of gritty couples that I really enjoyed. Lots of gritty couples.
Same. It really, I kept thinking of, the casting on these shows are always fantastic and it feels so New York and it's something that I really love. And watching this one made me excited that Mothership is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
They're such like New York characters, like the kind of characters that like, even if you're not from New York, you're like, yeah, that's a New Yorker. And it's like so much more interesting to see characters where I know particularly around this time you would never see them on any other show other than like Law and Order. Like these are New York people, and I kind of appreciate it.
I really like that the Mothership is coming back, and they're not doing the thing that CSI is doing with CSI Las Vegas. They're not calling it Law and Order New York, which would be so stupid.
That's redundant.
So
Would that be redundant?
Law and Order, A New Hope.
Law and Order.
I mean, Law and Order is New York.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, this feels redundant to call it that. Yeah, that's true.
All the witnesses here seem to have superpowers, right? They go to find Frank Sweeney as he's the ex-con giant guy.
Huge.
And he's doing the most Law and Order thing ever, which is moving boxes.
I squealed. I was like, he's doing the box thing. I was very excited.
But they're not little boxes. They're giant boxes.
Yeah.
He's like the Hulk going...
He is so big. He looks like that dude from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
right,
yes.
yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
He's like distractingly huge. I also feel really, really bad for the family whose personal items he's moving when they find out that he's like a hard white supremacist. It's like, here, that goes in the nursery. And then he turns around and they see like the swastika on his neck. Oh, not great.
Well, Fontana threatens this guy to talk to him. And he slaps him in the back of the head and he's like,
Hey, don't be a smart guy. You know how easy it is to get violated and sent back to the Gray Bar Hotel? Do you?
man, it was like something out of a 30s film. Hey, we want to get sent back upriver with Bugsy and No Nose? You'll be breaking big rocks into little rocks.
It worked. He stopped lying immediately.
That's right.
Which is interesting considering that eventually we're going to get to the part that like a lot of these guys really are above the law. Yet that worked.
Yeah, exactly. No one threatened Fontana. Like, don't slap me or I'm going to kill you. Why not?
Because he's a changed man.
He is.
He covered up all his swastika tattoos
and
he's moving big boxes. And he's like, man, I just got like 40 more years and I can retire. But by the way, speaking of other superpowers besides lifting boxes, his girlfriend Michelle, who's working the pizza place.
Oh my God.
Just reaches into that oven and grab that slice, bare hand.
Incredible.
Throwing it around.
Oh, that's right, she did.
Asbestos hands.
Shows up here the other night. Tried to explain to him about Vince and me. Just kept screaming at me, calling me a whore. Finally, my boss threatened to call the cops and he split.
See, I just was staring at her in general because I loved her. What we were just talking about before, like, this is a very specific New York character. I also appreciate that all of these wives weren't like little 20-something, like, no, not interesting, sort of like chippies on the side. Like, these were like women, and I really appreciated that. So I was just loving her. I didn't notice that she almost burned her fingers.
Yeah, she didn't almost burn him. She just reached into that hot oven.
Yeah,
you don't
nothing.
care.
See?
Yeah.
And not method, I guess. Didn't, do the real research on working at a pizza place.
By the way, as a customer, I'm not crazy about people just touching my slice.
Yeah. I will say, though, the guy receiving the 2 slices seemed completely disinterested in the murder conversation going on with the woman serving him the slices. I'm like, I'd be leaning into that. Like, tell me more. I will order a 3rd slice.
Yeah.
So I can hear the rest of this conversation.
I think you just wanted to complain about how cold the slice was. You put it in the oven that wasn't on. That's why you could touch it.
It's movie magic, Kevin. Movie magic.
Movie magic.
Do you remember, Lauren, like in the 90s, you go to a pizza place and like now you go in and you're like, a slice of pepperoni, please. And they just like pick one. But remember you used to be able to say like which one? You'd be like that one.
Like picking out your
true,
lobster?
Yes.
Because like if you wanted one with like more say I used to work at a bagel place that was next to a pizza place. And it would be like, no, that one.
Yeah.
like picking out, exactly. It's like picking a lobster out of a tank. And like the old Italian guys were very tolerant back in the 90s in a way they are not these days.
No, to the left. Keep going around. Like 7 o'clock right there. Yeah.
Can I have the one with more broccoli, please?
Yeah.
And
the one that's done a little well.
Yeah.
Less bubbles.
Fewer. Well, let's take a look at our cast.
It's our very special guest star,
Ms. Candice Bergen.
Yay!
She's appearing on this episode as Judge Amanda Anderley.
Mr. Fallon's argument's a convincing one, Mr. McCoy. This is how the law evolves. The defendant's belief may well have been objectively reasonable under the circumstances.
By the way, she's reprised this particular role thrice on the spin-off Law & Order Trial by Jury. So how about you let me mansplain Candice Bergen to you, Lauren?
Well, yes, this will be interesting. I would like to know how you would do that. I'll fill in the gaps.
Yeah, so daughter of famous ventriloquist Edgar Bergen, film star and Oscar nominee for Starting Over with Burt Reynolds. She pivoted to television and created the iconic character Murphy Brown, appearing in 258 episodes over 20 years. She got 5 Emmy Awards for this and 2 Golden Globes for playing Murphy Brown.
And if I can add, the only reason that she probably didn't win more was that after she won 5, she took herself out of the running because she felt it wasn't fair anymore. The only other person to do that is John Larroquette.
Right, he got like 4, at least 4 awards. Yeah,
for Night Court, right?
Yeah. So she stopped submitting herself.
You would think that Murphy Brown would be on syndication way more than it is. How come we don't see it like on every channel? USA.
Agreed.
The same way we see like Modern Family everywhere. How come Murphy Brown isn't everywhere?
I don't know. It must be like on TV land or
like
something,
I see
right?
designing women on TV more than I see Murphy Brown on TV. WTF with that?
Well, anyone listening who would like Murphy Brown on television or streaming, please tell all the streamers. Because unfortunately, it's only on Rewind TV at the moment, which is an offset of Antenna TV, where it used to air, which is the cable station, or you can use an actual antenna to watch it. But it's not on DVD and it's not streaming because of the music rights.
Weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really, it's unfortunate.
That's very sad.
Speaking of unfortunate, when she was in college, she went on a date with one Donald J. Trump.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, he reportedly dressed up in a three-piece burgundy suit, burgundy patent leather loafers, and driving a burgundy limousine.
Not driving
maybe I should say being driven in a burgundy limousine. She reported the date was uneventful with no physical contact whatsoever. I'm sure that was not for without trying. Look, we do have a couple of Hey, It's That guys.
Hey, it's that guy.
Can you tell us who's playing defense attorney Rodney Fallon?
Okay. Mimi.
Okay, go ahead,
I
Lauren.
finally know one, and you're not going to let me do it.
No, Lauren, who's that?
That would be Giancarlo Esposito.
John Worley felt like he could not get help from the authorities, and he could not get away from Billy Trammell and the Brotherhood inside the prison or out. He felt the Brotherhood would find him, hunt him down no matter where he went.
Yes, he actually pronounces it Esposito.
Oh, then someone else say it. Then I'm embarrassed. I just assumed it was like.
Okay. I would have fucked it up too. It's fine.
Okay, because I'm thinking of the other actress who pronounces it that way. She's Italian, I guess. I guess there's a difference.
Jennifer Esposito?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Or maybe that's the American way to say it. Oh, now I'm totally embarrassed.
I'm sure we're fucking that up too. It's fine.
Okay.
By day, he's owner of Los Pollos Hermanos.
No, he's not.
By night, he's the ruthless drug lord Gus Fring on Breaking Bad. 5 Emmy nominations. While on Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and his most recent turn as Moff Gideon on The Mandalorian.
He got an Emmy nomination for that?
Yes.
Wow.
A guest appearance kind of thing.
Deserved. He's incredible.
Yeah, I was so happy to see. I got very excited when I recognized him. I was very, very excited.
Too.
You yelled, "Hey!"
I was like, "Oh my God, hello!"
Yeah.
I believe what I said was, "Hello," which is a thing I often say when someone I recognize comes on the screen. I believe I also said it when Candice Bergen showed up behind the judge's bench there. "Hello," as if they're going to respond to me.
Yeah, they're not going to respond. He was in Waiting to Exhale as Dave Matthews.
What?
Oh, I mean David Matthews. Come on, script supervisor. Really? You couldn't? You had it just that close?
He woke up in the morning.
As a kid, he was in the child's chorus that sang the theme to the Electric Company.
No.
Yes.
Wow, how cool.
Come on, sing it, Lauren. I know you know it.
I don't actually.
Rebecca?
The Electric Company. That one?
We're gonna turn it on. Yeah, you got it.
I was exclusively a Sesame Street girl, and I don't know why. I mean, I didn't control the remote, so, blame my parents.
Can you tell us who's playing big doofus-looking prison guard John Worley?
When I heard Trammell got killed, I opened a bottle of champagne I've been saving for my anniversary.
No, but I know where I know him from.
Where do you know him from?
A couple of episodes of SVU is where I know him from.
Oh, that makes sense. He has that face.
Didn't he also I think I also know him from, and I did not look it up, I swear to God, so I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in Mad Men as some old-fashioned guy?
Yes.
Okay. Because he's his old-timey face. Every time I see somebody with old-timey face, I'm like, I think that guy dated Joan or Peggy on Mad Men.
Okay, all right. Let me assemble all of these bits you've thrown all over the floor.
Okay.
So that actor's name is Gary Basaraba. 4 Law and Order Universe appearances. He was actually a character on Chicago Justice, which is where Peter Stone came from. He did a crossover as
Chicago Police?
No, the one where Peter Stone before he came to SVU and. Anyway, but you're right. He was in Mad Men. He was the head of Jaguar, who was offered to give the ad account if he could sleep with Joan.
That's right. Oh,
yes.
Gross.
Of course. Yes, I remember.
She did so in exchange for 5% of the company.
That's right.
Who's the bitch now? He's got a recurring role in the Smurfs movies.
Oh.
He's Hefty Smurf.
Okay, what's that?
That tracks.
The one with the heart tattoo on the...
Yeah. Okay.
How much farther, Papa Smurf? Not far now. Can you name the actor playing the prison superintendent?
Discount J.K. Simmons, you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
Some of these younger officers are intimidated by these Brotherhood thugs.
But not John Worley.
Not John. He won't back down to these thugs.
I don't know him.
Yeah, that's the late Daniel von Bargen.
Well, now I feel bad that he's dead.
You didn't do it. 3 Law and Order appearances. He appeared with Jill Hennessy and Robert John Burke, a.k.a. Tucker, in RoboCop. I'm sorry, RoboCop 3.
Okay, I was going to say, Jill Hennessy wasn't in RoboCop.
Appearances on The X-Files, The Postman. He was the head of the military school they sent the brother to and Malcolm in the Middle.
Huh.
Had like an eye patch. And
he's very central casting, that guy.
Yeah, you may know him more as George's boss in Seinfeld, Mr. Kruger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he gave money to George's fake charity, the Human Fund. And then when he found out he was mad, George invited him to his holiday, which was called Festivus. For the rest of us.
Well, it's his dad's holiday, really.
The pole and everything.
Have the airing of the grievances. Look, we do have some repeat offenders.
Repeat offender.
We have Vincent Laresca as the Latin King prison drug runner Fio Ruiz.
He sat on my seat, and I wanted it back. One of his Nazi homeboys jumped in. We just tussled a little.
He was in that SVU as the politician sending dick pics under the name Enrique Trouble.
That's right.
Yeah. Enrique Trouble.
I remember that episode because it was a ripped from the headlines.
Carlos Danger. That's right.
Carlos Danger. There's Stephanie Kurzuba as Worley's wife, Janet.
She was awesome.
Although later they referred to as Dina, so...
Change names mid-episode?
Yeah.
He was home by 10.
She was the mom of one of the murdering preteens in Glasgow Man's Wrath.
Huh.
And we have Salinas Leiva.
Yeah, they match it to the slug that killed Tramo. And one of the prints on the gun is Worley's.
You know her as Gloria from Orange is the New Black. She's doing her recurring role as Detective Rivera. She is the female Profaci.
Oh, Profaci.
Nice.
And can you tell us who's playing Jimmy, the guy who gets his pregnant girlfriend to the hospital? As you say, Sid and Nancy.
No.
Oh my God! Get the phone! Call 911!
That's Frank Bello. He is the bass player for the 80s thrash band Anthrax.
Wow.
No.
Go ahead, Rebecca, name a song.
No.
I'll give you $4 billion if you can name one song by Anthrax.
No.
Soldier of Metal? No. Bring the Noise?
Nope.
Bordello of Blood? No,
Nope.
You couldn't do that? Okay.
Can't do it.
It's funny, Frank Bello started as a roadie for the band Anthrax, and then when the bass player quit, he became the bass player.
Amazing.
That's like the dream.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. It's like the dream. They just announced their next European tour.
Oh.
Anthrax. They're still together. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here's where we can catch them. At Lagomo in Turku, Finland.
Nice.
Bashkop in Frankfurt.
Great.
Or the Kulachaka Hotel in Kalin, Estonia.
Amazing.
Michelle's boyfriend is Vince.
Yes.
This mechanic who apparently just decides in the middle of the day, I gotta go see a man about a horse.
Yes. Vince is my favorite character in this whole show.
Why is that?
Because he's lying to Michelle. He's pretending to be a tough with all of his man jewelry. Meanwhile, he's just skipping over to OTB and placing bets.
Yeah, I was talking trash because I don't want to look like a punk. But believe me, I lit a candle. I don't run into the guy.
Well, your prayers were answered, pal. He's dead.
Really?
Yeah, really.
And then when the cops take him in and they're like, yeah, so Billy's dead, he's like, really? He's like so freaking excited. Like, I don't even have to do that anymore. I don't have to pretend to be tough for Michelle anymore because someone did it for him. He's so excited. It's adorable.
Not exactly a hardened criminal.
But I actually see the appeal. Also, by the way, if there are $3 tables at Foxwoods, sign me up. Because I have been to Foxwoods so many times and I cannot find a $5 blackjack table there. I'm telling you, I've searched forever, even for like a $10 blackjack table. They do not exist. So sign me up. Sign me up.
I really like that moment too because it felt very genuine and real. And then you realize, oh wait, these guys are cops. So like I'm in trouble. Which they didn't actually say they were cops, did they? Did I miss that?
Nope.
Because I thought, they just took him away and didn't even let him know why. That's a problem.
We should talk about the Sing Sing location filming or wherever that was they were filming it.
They did some on-location shooting at, looks like some correction facility.
There were so many, like, funny scenes there. One was Serena and the other guard guy in the golden hour walking through the yard.
They spent all day shooting there, Rebecca.
And the other one was when Fontana and Green first arrived, and it's like the grittiest West Wing scene ever. This super fast walk and talk.
Billy Trammell dealing drugs? We think so. Small time. He had a run-in with one of the Latin King dealers earlier this year. Got his skull cracked.
Where they're talking about heroin and smuggling and people murdering people outside the gates. And I'm like, oh my God, where's Josh Lyman? This is so complicated. I don't understand the dialogue. And they are walking so fast down that outside hallway. Did anyone notice that besides me?
It is the Tommy Schlamme era of NBC when this episode aired. So that makes a lot of sense that they might, go, oh, here's a new way of doing things. We should take this on. Oh, that's so funny. I didn't even notice that because I love the West Wing so much.
Well, the scene is, you're right, a lot of dialogue while they're walking up the stairs. And I keep thinking if I were the director and I wanted to fuck with him, I'd be like, no, we need another take. Come on.
Come on, Fontana.
Come on.
Come on, old man. We know Jesse L. Martin's young and spry. He just got off Broadway. Let's see you do a few more takes.
You want another cigarette break before we do this? Go ahead. All right, so they question Worley at his home, and he and his wife can't keep their story straight, right?
They don't even try.
Yeah, well, we need to know where you were on Monday night.
He was home with me. Why?
All night.
Yes, all evening, all of us.
Well, I went out for beers after work first. Remember, honey?
Remember I told you I went for a beer?
Oh, such bad acting. That's right, honey. You did.
Well, let me do my mascara and say suspish.
I love it. I feel like it would be like how I would be if the police came to talk to us and you'd be like, way to go, Matahari. I'm so bad at lying on the spot. I really felt for Dina/Jessica or whatever the hell her name was at that moment.
So if his partner is supposed to be his alibi, he really passes along a whole bunch of incriminating information nonetheless.
He threatened John's whole family. I mean, there were phone calls, anonymous letters, pictures of the kids in the mail, taken to school.
Nah, he was with me, but they hated each other, and he smacked them around, and he was sending photos of the family with threats, but I'm sure it wasn't him.
But then he pretty much goes no comment, which is like the biggest giveaway of the whole thing. Like,
so, were you two together that night or not?
I'm going home.
As all of a sudden he's like, I'm just not going to lie about that particular thing. So,
I don't want to lie to you, so I'm just going to walk away.
Yeah.
I'm going to plead the fifth for him.
On his behalf. All right, let's take a look at the second half of this episode. At arraignment, Worley pleads not guilty to killing Trammell. Or Trammell. Or Trammell?
That doesn't matter. Who cares? He's dead.
Your Honor, the Brotherhood will have a contract on my client's head 10 minutes after he's in a cell.
Your Honor, please don't put me in the system.
The defendant is free to request protective custody, Your Honor.
Protective custody's a joke to these people.
I'm sympathetic. What can we do on bail, Miss Sutherland?
For an accused murderer?
For a law enforcement officer with an impeccable record.
I have a house I can put up.
I'll set bail at $100,000.
Sleeper cell lesbian Serena Sutherland says if Trammell was going to kill Worley, he'd have to get the head of the Brotherhood to okay it. Marsden says if there was such a contract out, it's been rescinded because having an ex-prison guard behind bars would be very valuable. His defense attorney makes a motion to argue preemptive self-defense that Worley knew Marsden was coming for him. They meet with Judge Anderley, a woman who looks like she's seen things. McCoy argues under self-defense the threat must be imminent. You can't just bring an assault rifle to a protest and start shooting people because you got scared, motherfucker. But the judge sides with the defense, saying his perceived threat was reasonable. During the trial, someone leaves a threatening note for the judge, saying if Worley gets off, you're dead. D-E-D, dead.
Oh.
The defense calls Marsden to ask if he ordered the hit on Worley, and he makes another veiled threat at the judge. On the stand, Worley says, Trammell threatened to kill him for years, so he shot him to protect his family. But on cross-examination, McCoy points out that Worley could have just sent Trammell back to prison for violating his parole. He didn't need to kill him. The jury is deadlocked, and Jack is unsure if he'd have any more luck at a new trial. That's when they learn that Worley's wife has gone missing.
Dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Okay, so McCoy has this meeting that he wants with Marsden from the Brotherhood.
I'm Jack McCoy. This is ADA Sutherland. Hi, honey.
And when they show up, he sees Serena and he's all, hi, honey.
Yeah.
And she was like, don't look at me that way. I'm getting lady love feelings.
Yeah. How come they don't have to go to Sing Sing, but the cops do? They get to, like, transport him down.
Yeah, I got an idea. They're busy people, Rebecca.
Yeah, the cops are busy too.
But Van Buren says, well, you'll just beat traffic. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, cops get overtime, I guess.
Yeah, and they don't. They don't. They're like, come on.
You know, this section was interesting to me because at first, because I've seen this episode, but I saw it, I think, when it originally aired. So I didn't really remember what was going to happen. I thought for a moment that they were having him take the rap for the murder of this guy so they wouldn't hurt his family. I don't know why I thought that.
Yeah.
So when he said he did it, I was like, oh, okay. It's just sort of, a usual kind of a case here. Because there are more where he came from, right? Like the Brotherhood in general, it's the name of the episode, is going to probably come after his family, which obviously also does happen. It's like killing one cockroach when you know there's a home of cockroaches in the wall, right? Like, I mean, I guess he was just so frightened he wasn't really thinking properly, but I really thought it was going to come out that he didn't do it and he was being forced to take the rap so that they would not kill his family.
Yeah, and I thought that the twist was going to be that something bad was going to happen to the judge.
I thought the twist was going to be that he didn't do it, but like his wife or son did, and he was covering for them like every other fucking Law and Order.
Oh, yeah. Like, that's a classic. That is a classic one, yeah.
Yeah, because it was like the easy pass was the clue, which means anybody in the family could have been driving the car.
I guess we've seen too many episodes of Law and Order.
Yeah, we're like, it's like we're using the tropes of the show to guess the outcome.
I mean, they also had that
show.
moment where it's like, this is the kid, and then like close up on his face, and it's like, oh,
Exactly.
yeah. Well, that's an interesting point, right? Like, you obviously have seen a lot of these episodes more recently than I have. Do you think there gets to a point where they use the tropes against the audience?
Yes.
Which I think is very smart. I think that's really smart.
Yeah, well, I'll say that usually when you see a guest star,
right?
That you think they're the killer or something bad is going to happen to them. To have somebody like Candice Bergen come on and just be the judge and sort of...
She's going to be dead.
Yeah, it's like, something bad's going to happen. She's going to have a good scene. She had a couple of nice scenes there, but it wasn't...
Especially when she got threatened, we're like, she's going to be dead.
Your answer, Mr. Marsden.
What are you going to do, Judge? Hold me in contempt?
Consider it done.
Ooh, you sure you want to do that?
And I'm like,
dead,
and I turned to Kevin and I was like, is this why we've never seen her on Law and Order after this as a judge? I was like, but then she didn't die. I was very surprised.
I had a memory of someone trying to attack her in public, but maybe that happened on the other show.
Maybe.
Yeah, it could be. Really, if you've got somebody that you can stretch with, then you should try to stretch with that actor.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I think that she did a much better job in a role like that than like when Diane Wiest joined Law and Order, who's one of my absolute favorites as well, and I love her, but it didn't really fit with her. And I think that Candice and Diane, although very different actresses, have sort of a quirkiness to them or come from comedy in a way. And I thought it was interesting, and for some reason that is something that popped into my head. I was like, oh, she really fits really well into this judge character in a way that Diane Wiest didn't, which is terrible to compare two actors' performances. And obviously, there's a comfort level and things like that. But they do really well with Emmy and Tony winners in these roles. Maybe the Oscar winners shouldn't be playing. What was she? The DA?
She was the DA, but I think she wasn't supposed to fit in the role because she was a bleeding heart liberal who got like picked after somebody left, right? So she was like a substitute.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
oh, that's right. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I liked her performance, but she wasn't supposed to be good at it. But I think that Candice Bergen's experience playing a news anchor served her very well here, sitting behind a desk looking authoritative.
Oh, good point. Good point.
I gotta say, here's another thing about Candice Bergen is that you notice that towards the end of the trial, all of the testimony was shot in such a way that you couldn't see that she wasn't on the bench. Right? And she's like, hey, guys, I told you I'd give you Tuesday and half a Wednesday. You can want to take some cutaway shots later. That's fine.
Are you serious? Is that true?
I don't know if that's true, but all of a sudden she's not in the shot.
That's true, right? I mean, it could be possible. The thing that I noticed the most was there was a lot of ADR.
What's that?
The substitution of her voice, like, was recorded afterwards.
Yeah.
a lot.
Dubbing over the,
Yeah, I don't know if there was something wrong with her mic or something happened, but for some reason it really caught my attention.
The note left in the courtroom can't be definitively attributed to the Brotherhood.
Save your breath, Mr. McCoy. The note is off limits at this trial, Mr. Fallon.
Well, then I intend to call Kyle Marston as a witness.
That happens a lot on the show, by the way.
Oh, it does? Okay.
There's a lot of crappy sound issues on the show, and you see a lot of scenes where all of a sudden you see the back of somebody's head, their lips do not match the words.
Or because of a legal threat, they dub somebody's name out, like Dr. Delbert.
We know we have to stop Dr. Delbert.
Didn't Dr. Delbert tell his patients?
It's possible that Delbert is an SOB.
Well, the louder the biological clock ticks, the richer Dr. Delbert gets.
So the discovery of the threat in court, I thought, was pretty conspicuous. It's Worley's wife who finds an envelope and then flags down the bailiff. You see someone left an envelope on the bench next to you, and you open the envelope.
Well, no, you see the blonde woman walk out. You don't pay attention to. It's like that thing where the gorilla is walking around with the basketball. Remember people bouncing the ball? Have you seen that film? Supposed to spot you're watching the gorilla, so you don't see. Have you ever seen that where it's supposed to be like a witness test? Anyway, this is like that. We all see this blonde woman walk out. Everyone in the gallery watches her walk out, and then.
But it is way in the background because up front it is a cross-examination.
Right.
And it's going on and on and on. And the bailiff reads the note, and he runs up to the judge. It's like it's a threat letter. It's not a bomb threat letter.
Yeah. Maybe it had anthrax in it. Call back.
We already had anthrax at the beginning of the episode.
This was addressed to me. If Worley gets off, you're dead.
And you know, like when they said, you're dead, they spelled it WOUR. Because that's how they would have spelled it on Twitter. Stupid Aryans. McCoy's counter-argument to Worley having to shoot the guys that he could have just violated his parole and sent him back to prison.
And putting Trammell back into prison wasn't going to be enough to satisfy his hunger for retribution. Only murdering him was.
And Worley's like, prison? I work at the prison, right? I'll be right back where I started from.
I hate to say it.
Yeah?
Because I am pro-civil rights, pro-criminal justice reform, pro-people not committing acts of violence to solve problems.
Yes.
In this instance, in this episode, I am very fucking pro-vigilante. I do not think this guy had another option other than killing this guy. I really do not, and I hate to say that.
Witness protection. What about witness protection?
No, but how would he go into witness protection? Like, no one would have done that for him.
Yeah,
like, witness against what? I mean, the only other option he could have had would have been to leave his job, pack up all of his shit, and, go somewhere else and pretend to be new people, right? But that's not a thing that, regular people can actually do.
Oh,
it's just not. Trust me, I am the last person I ever thought would say this out loud, but, I'm kind of pro-vigilante in this episode.
So, Lauren, are you going to be Rebecca's alibi, having beer at the bar when the cops come?
Sure. Remember, honey? We were at a hotel. I mean,
all that shit just came out of my mouth, and maybe it's also because the guy was a Nazi that I also feel
sure, right? Punch a Nazi, get $1 million. Listen, I think that one thing that Law and Order does really well, even if it's a rip from the headlines type of thing, is taking something like this and making you exactly have that reaction. Go, oh, I do get why he might have to do that, and I think that really is sort of the core of the show. As well as all the other stuff we love, people carrying boxes and being interrogated and the music. And, it's such a part of our life for the last, 20-something years. But I do think it's good at that, to take an argument and kind of put it on its head, particularly in the law part of the show, and make you go, yeah, I do get where he's coming from. Maybe I would make that same decision in the moment.
Yeah, well, they like to say that for Law and Order, the first half is a murder mystery and the second half is a moral mystery.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we have here. Although, again, it is kind of hard to find sympathy for an Aryan. All right, well, let's take a look at the real-life story that inspired this episode. It's time for a Rip from the Headlines.
You think you know who did it. You think you know who did it. But you don't know who did it. You don't know who did it. Rip from the Headlines.
This episode takes cues from the story of Judge Joan Lefkow, She was appointed to the federal bench in Illinois in 1982 and became a United States District Court judge in 2000. That year, Lefkow ruled against white supremacist Matthew Hale in a trademark infringement case. A Nazi website posted Lefkow's home address, and an FBI informant recorded Hale planning to kill the judge. In 2003, he was sentenced to 40 years for the plot. 2 years later, Lefkow came home to find her husband and mother had been murdered. Suspicion quickly turned to area hate groups. Meanwhile, a cop in Wisconsin pulled over a driver who then shot himself during the traffic stop. Bart Ross had been the plaintiff in a medical malpractice suit dismissed by Lefkow. He left behind notes with his plans to kill the judge and letters taking credit for the killings. His DNA was found on a cigarette butt recovered at the crime scene. Joan Lefkow continues to try cases in Chicago. She's an outspoken advocate for providing federal protection for judges.
I gotta say that I think the real-life case had more Law and Order twist to it, it did. Than really this one.
Agreed, yeah. I was thinking about that, yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if it's because, I always like to see more Candice Bergen, I kind of wanted to see more of that story. And I think maybe it also was because I kept thinking, I think she goes into witness protection. Like, I don't know if I made this whole story up or it happened on the other series. But I was expecting more to go into that. And it sounds like there was a really interesting case. Although, there is a balance, right? They have to have, enough of the law and enough of the order. So I get that. But yeah, as you were reading that, I went, that's the story I would like to see. It also reminds me of the judge in New Jersey recently whose son was killed, right?
It was a federal judge in New Jersey. Her son, as you said, was shot opening the door at the home. He was killed by a disgruntled lawyer posing as a FedEx delivery man.
Jesus.
There is a bill in the U.S. Senate that has been reintroduced to prohibit disclosure of federal judges' personal information to protect them from, disgruntled folks. Do we need to do more to keep judges safe?
Absolutely.
Lauren, how do we do that?
I mean, it's really sort of disturbing to me that this story is based on a true story, considering how far we've come and it happened again. There must be some way to protect someone's personal information. I mean, that being said, any one of us can be doxxed on Twitter for any number of reasons. Right. And I know people that's happened to. Security or cybersecurity for people and women in general is very lax. So I don't know what that is, but it has to be possible to protect people.
Bart Ross, who actually did do it, he had been diagnosed with jaw cancer. He received treatment from the University of Illinois, which left him disfigured. He said because of the pain, he couldn't get work, he got evicted, and he was living in his minivan. He sued for malpractice and represented himself, which always goes well. Mm-hmm. And so Lefkow dismissed it because there was no actual wrongdoing. The treatment for that cancer will leave you disfigured.
Yeah.
I had something similar happen with the neck cancer treatment that didn't go so well.
You lost your voice for like a year.
Should I sue? Should I represent myself?
I have opinions about whether or not you should sue, but no matter what you do, you should never represent yourself.
Lauren, will you represent me in federal court?
Well, I mean, I'm sure I could get some sort of degree off a box top and help you out.
Yeah.
From the Internet Law School of Nothing.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, if people can, marry people, I'm sure it's easy for me to get listen, Kim Kardashian, although she didn't pass the bar, did she? So,
I don't think she's trying to pass the bar. I think she's trying to become a lawyer from that apprenticeship program they have in California.
Oh, okay. Cut this out. I don't know anything about Kim Kardashian.
By the way, the leading cause of jaw cancer is tobacco use.
Makes sense.
And they connected him to the crime from a cigarette butt.
Yeah.
Dude could not stop smoking. Man, that shit kills.
It does. It does.
How do you not realize that that's gonna come back to you?
Well, was he smoking out of just one side of his face?
But he also knew he was gonna die, right?
You think he wanted to be caught?
I think he knew he was near the end, right? I mean, didn't he die by suicide after getting pulled over by the cops?
Yeah, but he'd pretty much gotten away with it. They were all looking for Nazis.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
But if he could have just not had a Nick fit in the middle of this double homicide, he might have gotten away with it.
If it wasn't for those crazy kids.
It wasn't for those crazy kids.
Crazy cigs.
Have your Pall Malls, Papa. Hey, that's going to do it for us. I want to thank our guest, Lauren Milberger. Lauren, where can our listeners follow you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lauren Milberger, LaurenMilberger. And thank you so much for letting me come on and talk about Candice Bergen.
Yeah.
Say goodnight, Lauren.
Good night.
Rebecca Lavoie, how can our listeners follow you?
On Twitter and Instagram at Reb Lavoie.
And you can track me on Twitter at Kevin P. Flynn. You can also tweet to us at Law & Order Pod or follow us on Instagram at These Are Their Stories Podcast. Our newsreader was Cy Frater. Our theme music was composed and performed by Uncanny Valleys. Content assistance from Travis Roy. Lily Flynn handles promotions. To get ad-free episodes of These Are Their Stories a week early, sign up for Stitcher Premium. All clips in this podcast were used in compliance with the U.S. Copyrights Act fair use exemption for criticism and commentary. Go to lawandorderpodcast.com to sign up for our newsletter for a chance to be our next Law & Order Marathon winner. These Are Their Stories was recorded in the Yoga Loft above the Bodega in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi studio and is a production of Partners in Crime Media. Say goodnight, Rebecca.
Good night, Rebecca.
Partners in Crime Media.